There is a space where you are all you need, where you are all you want. All there is here. Welcome to the Source Connection, conversations about who we truly are, the possibilities of creation and the new earth we are birthing. With your hosts, Tara Long and Liz B.
Welcome to one more episode of The Source Connection. I'm here with my co-host Tara Long. My name is Liz B, and let's settle into the space for a brief moment together. So whatever you need to do to feel comfortable, relaxed, arriving in this now moment, feeling your sit bones. Lay down if you can. And if you're moving and driving, just take a moment to just pause. Let's take a couple of deep breaths together, inhaling through the nose deeply and sighing it out. Inhale deep. And sigh it out. One more time, inhaling deep and holding the in-breath and just feeling the fullness of the breath inside of your physical body. Hold it for as long as you can. After you sigh it out, pause that out breath and just hold nothing. And when you're ready, let the breath find itself. Just listen for a moment and see how this resonates and feels in the body. I am the breath of life. I am breath of life. I am the breath of life. Resting in that awareness. I am the breath of life. Now let's take a deep inhale together. And let's sigh it out. Lean back into the space. Centered. Aware. Embodied. Mm. The gift of silence.
So beautiful. Thank you, Liz.
Yeah.
Had all the yawns coming out of me today.
Mm. You know, I tend to yawn a lot when I'm doing Reiki or like pranic healing and things like that. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Like a purification.
Thank you. It's one of the ways that the body knows. Yeah.
Releasing the stressors of whatever's there.
Yeah.
Feels good. Feels good, and it feels good to be with you today.
Yes.
It's been, I was thinking it's been like, gosh, since the end of July, since we recorded together, just you and I. So that's like a month and a half or something. I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Grateful for our guests.
Oh, yes.
That have
So grateful
come
for
and
our
shared
guests.
space with us, but it's good to be together too.
Oh, yeah. And we had some time off for various reasons.
Yes.
Travels and other things.
Yes. Broadcasting from different places. Yeah.
So, what is coming up today?
I hiked today and with my family, and we did it mostly in silence.
You did what in silence?
We hiked.
Oh, you hiked.
Mostly in silence. And it was so interesting to notice. It got clear to me when we were coming down because the way there was up. And we got to the top of this mountain, and it was this magnificent view of just mountains and green and like few little houses plopped in the middle of nowhere. And coming back, I noticed how much sound we were making just because of the physical activity of going downhill. And how you have to control your movements differently, and there's a sound resonance that's different. And it got me thinking about different moments in life where you're quiet and you don't take a lot of space, and that sometimes you get really big and you take up a lot of room, and how we're seeing this manifest in the world nowadays with people really feeling the contraction of imposed ideas and ways of living and rules and why nots, and the innate contrast to that is the expansion and the roar for the ability to be oneself and all of that, and how we're seeing that big all over the world. And it's an incredible time to be alive and to see that.
Right. It's like the the yin and the yang in the illusion of form that we're in, and that we chose to be here in. It's that like the oppression, right? It gets so strong, and then the human spirit, like where it was so comfortable for so long in so many ways, and just la la la, we're just skipping along. I mean, not to say life was easy, but it was just very comfortable for most people, I would say, in the Western world. And then this. And so for people who went, oh, wait, this is off, this doesn't feel right, it just awoke. And we've talked about this before many times, how it really awakened something inside of us that we didn't experience in quite that way before. Even though it's recognizable to me, I go, oh yeah, I know that fire. I've experienced that fire before, but now it's in a new way. It's in like, well, and integrating that into, this spiritual path we've been walking for so long, and all of those ideas and concepts, and letting go of all of that,
Yes.
and like, ooh, so it's that yin and that yang of like, you're going to put a big brick on people and they're going to do whatever they have to get the brick off of them.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
The natural law of, I feel like, this experience, which is there's a certain thing and there's always a response to that that matches to keep the balance.
Yeah.
And I love how you said that we knew, but we hadn't quite experienced it that way. And I think for most of us, it has become clearer why we always knew and why we never felt quite at home. And activating different levels of our ability to cope with the pressure, to release the pressure, to become the living manifestation of what we know we really are. And so with all of that, it's been quite a gift.
Yeah. Hasn't it though? We talk about it all the time, all the things that have happened because of these times, because of the CV, just in case we get like censored or something. I don't want you know what I mean.
Here we are. This being here together.
Yeah.
Sprouted off.
Yes.
Of that.
100%. Meeting each other.
Yes.
And creating the community we have in LA, of all places.
In all places.
And we've been talking about the potential relocation.
Right. And just how that all plays out in the big scheme of what's playing individually.
Yeah.
And how it's that unsettling feeling of something that you've known to be, whatever you want to call it, your home, your relations, your way of living, the streets that you walk, the places that you go, the smells that you smell. And I'm just having this pop now. It never leaves you. It's bringing tears to my eyes because as we think about different ways of living, oftentimes we're overwhelmed with the feelings of what we feel like we're leaving behind. But do we really leave anything behind? Or is it just more of who we become with all the experiences and the hearts that we take with us? Yeah.
Yeah, nothing can ever be lost, can it? It's just the mind that says, oh, I won't have that every day or see that person all the time or whatever it is. But it's just, like you say, remembering and feeling into the spaces of all that we are because of those things. That's always with us. And on to the new adventures that are calling.
And how much of life has expanded in this past year and a half. It's insane for me to think about it and look back and realize that for others, it has been the complete opposite to it. to
Yes,
the
their lives have gotten smaller and more contracted.
smaller,
Yeah.
and to then have the reassurance of, wow, we're really shaping this experience individually and collectively.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
what a responsibility that we have individually to really set the tone for our own experiences.
Our
Yeah.
own experiences. Yeah. And to be, the lights for others who still feel like they're maybe isolated or alone or
Mm.
in that dark cave, which is why I believe we were called to do this project together.
And it's so wonderful to feel and to hear of the ripples of this when we get messages and when we hear about the picking of the fruit of this space and the savoring of these connections. It's just it's really beautiful, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful.
Too, sister.
Heart to hearts, hearts to hearts.
Hearts to hearts. Yes, that cannot be forced or pushed. It just happens, and you just have the bond, and it's forever.
Because it has been from forever.
Yes, because
and
it's
it goes
already
on
timeless.
forever.
Yeah, it's already met in that timeless space of infinity.
See, but I have this, yes, not but. I have this like, this deep savoring of time together. And just as we haven't seen each other in a little over a month. Well, no, I came over and I dropped stuff off, but like just being together, and I'm like, I don't want to give that up anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So even though we know, and even though we know we're together all the time, doesn't matter if we're sharing the same physical space or not, yet there is a layer of gratitude and just being able to have that just adds on to the experience and just fulfills at a deeper level.
Yeah. And I would say at this time in particular, I do feel more called to be physically with you together. And, and those that I have that real bond of affection with. I really do. So let's just stay together then, and we'll just go together.
Yes. We
don't have to split up at all.
That's the plan.
That's the plan.
The caravan moves on, the circus follows.
That's right. And one of us might go before the other, but
but it just catches up.
Doesn't matter. It just catches up.
Yeah.
I love, go ahead.
No, say.
No, I was just saying I love how we were talking before about having those mind fears come up about, well, then what happens if we're isolated in the future and we're split up, and then the reminder of like just following what feels right and aligned just right now in this moment. Like, and that's it. That's all we have to do. We don't have to think about what will be down the road a week from now, a month from now. The outcome is not the important thing in this moment. It's what feels aligned. And so that's so easy to forget as we're in these human bodies and we're running around and we have all the things coming at us and we're just like, the anxiety. And it's just to remember, okay, what now? What just right now? That's all I have to do. That's all I have to be, is just what feels right now. And the rest will follow. And I can trust that 100%. So I invite everyone listening to really just pause for a moment and feel that in yourself. Like, what does it feel like to know you actually don't have to plan anything or think about what the right thing is with the mind? You can just surrender to that greater knowing that is you. And you can trust that and you can follow that. It does require some stillness and silence, and really feeling, giving yourself time. And if it's not clear, then it's not the time to know it.
Self-investment.
Yeah.
We've been, I think, conditioned to believe that even in spirituality, if we really look into some of the teachings, and well, you get the signs, and you will, when there's a writing on the wall, or somebody will say something, you read whatever that thing is. But again, what if we are our best oracle? What if we already have that, but we have to allow ourselves access to that infinite wisdom that it's available at every moment, anytime? But it's trusting enough to know that you all have access to that because you are that. And then moving from that space and knowing that because of the expressions of this dimension, it's going to come and it's going to modulate differently, like a symphony, that it's not just I'm trying to find
Just
the
a
right word.
monotone.
Just a monotone, yeah. And I think because we've been conditioned to think that we have to fulfill certain roles and look certain ways, even with that question, when we're young, where are you going to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
Like you can only be one thing, right? And then you choose
and it's
that.
fixed in time.
Yeah. When you grow up.
Yeah. When is that? I'm still
I don't
waiting
know.
for that moment. But yeah, this like linear time that it's like, oh, this and then this and then this and then this, and what happens when we tap into that timeless infinite space that is time, that is timeless. That is that doesn't have this linear timeline that's like because that feels like trudging through the mud. If you think about it, it's like hard work. Oh God, I gotta do this, and then I gotta do this, and I gotta do this. When it's like, I'm just gonna let go of all that, and to, like you said it so eloquently and beautifully, of how we just allow ourselves to remember that which we are, and it's just
And I feel like we because of the process that I know you and I specifically, and everybody listening here, are going through, either if they're aware of it or not, we're working through so much just in this time alone, that there are going to be those paradoxical moments where it almost feels like it's too much to let go of the layers that we have been accustomed to. And so, how many times are we dying every day through all of this? Because we're being called to deeper and deeper levels of detachment. And to me, the more I'm able to do that, the more I'm allowing for our natural state, which it's been said to be magical or unexplainable or unreasonable. When you don't find the mental or rational motives to justify certain things, but you know that when you bridge your whole being and you come from the centered space, there doesn't need to be any reason, because what you know is enough.
yes.
And at times it may feel really easy to go through this process, and at other times it feels extremely challenging.
Yeah, and letting that just be what it is and flow through you
Yes.
and come out and whatever it wants to come out as. And the really cool thing that I guess one might call like self-realization or something along those lines would be, remembering who we are in all moments, that you can be. It's not one or the, like, oh, if I'm calm and peaceful and centered, then I'm enlightened or whatever it is. And when I'm raging or I'm this, then I'm not. But the truth is, it doesn't matter. you're always that. And that knowing, even if in the moment you don't remember it, but you
Yes.
have that as your foundation or your basis or where you come from. And I can speak about it because I have the experience of that. And I wouldn't speak about something unless I did like that. So I and it's the most amazing thing in the world. And underneath a sad day or whatever, I know that's not me. I know that's the beautiful human expression. And so I can
Yes.
allow it completely to be there.
Yeah.
I don't have to judge it. I don't have to be afraid of it. But it's still there's this purity or this like pristineness or this crystal clearness that runs underneath. And that has come with, years of the unconditioning and the dropping away of identities and so on and so forth. So I am so grateful for that right now because I can't imagine the world right now if that wasn't my center and basis of everything.
Oh,
Right?
it's amazing to look back and know that everything has prepared us one way or another for this moment. And what you were describing, I would call devotion. It's a devotion oh, because it's like, as I was just going to say, because it's not always the most pleasant road, an easier road, because it feels comforting sometimes to just point the finger and to blame and to not take responsibility and just to defer like that. And when you really decide to embody yourself and come home to yourself and to do this self devotion, it's a wild ride.
Yeah.
It's wild. And I think that because of last year, it's easier to see clearly what you're describing, that it's not finding a mountaintop to sit and just be peaceful all the time. That's not what this experience is about. How do you embody that with the principle of no harm to others and all of that? That's another story. And I feel like that's the beauty that we're fine tuning too. And we've had conversations here with some of our guests. And Paul Enslaved is the one that comes to mind, where it's really clear to him when it's just, like not okay to just step into that role of somebody who's going to intervene in this way. You're firm, you're not trying to harm anybody, but you're really calling things out for what they are in that moment. And just really embodying the power of that, just that clarity. Yeah. And because of everything, and we've also talked about this, just simple things that you decide to do for yourself that may feel completely different than what the majority of people may be doing. Just that alone, just embodying that, and how much courage, how much applied energy and focus that takes. And I think sometimes we forget. So for every one of you out there, you're doing great. It's amazing. The amount of energy just to be in this body is to begin with, to focus this and compress in the intensity of this. And so that alone. And then on top of that, have to find your own liberation through one of the most oppressive times in human history. Another great thing. And again, I think we're being given the opportunity to really find that power within ourselves, to where it's going to come a time where navigating all this, it's going to really feel like a breeze, because it's almost like it is not your experience anymore. Which we've experienced many times, and we've talked about this many times.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it feels like the times where those overwhelming feelings becomes less and less. I mean, that's been my experience over time in the past years, but that's not really the goal. It's just, it's a natural affect of
right,
knowing yourself and devoting to your true self, that devotion that you're speaking of.
And I think that it's becoming comfortable with that, right? To where the intensity may even be the same, but the way you move through it, it just doesn't feel as impactful and as
Consuming.
overwhelming.
Yeah,
Consuming.
like consuming you.
Yeah.
I want to just talk quickly about something really practical, because I think potentially a lot of people might be experiencing this, and that is the impulse and the call to relocate or move at this time. And we're recording this on September 8th, so this might come out like a month later. But just to state that. But there is a difference between, and this is something I've been really aware of and conscious of, is the difference between moving or running out of a fear state of like, I'm so afraid. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. If that happens, there's no good, or I'm not saying it's right or wrong to do whatever. But moving out of a fear state versus when there's really a call and really a pull and really a knowing. And that's what I'm experiencing in the moment. Like I didn't feel it this whole time. Like, no, I'm going to stay put. I'm going to stay put. I'm going to stay put. I don't feel called to go anywhere. So why would I go anywhere?
Yeah.
And Liz and I both live in LA. So, that's enough said there. But, and there's many amazing things, and there's been many amazing things, right, about being here. And I'm at the moment by the ocean. So that has been, but that just knowing deeply inside that, okay, now it's time. Now it's time to go. Now it's time to. So just be aware of that for yourself and whoever's listening of where it's coming from and what it is that you want. And I mean, it can be really overwhelming to think about that huge change. But if you feel called, don't ignore that either. Right? I mean, you can. You totally can. You totally can. But why would you? Why would you? Even if it feels like, oh, that's going to be hard, or the circumstances, or logistically your mind starts going. When you're following alignment, it is not hard. It's not. And if it is, then there's something maybe to look at, right? So it's what's flowing. Where is that vine growing? Where's the obstacle? So where do I go? Oh, okay, so instead of pushing or forcing something or holding on or grasping, like we were talking about before, oh, maybe I might lose this or that. If you just trust and follow the alignment.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's so simple.
There it is. It's so simple. We should make a song.
Oh, yeah.
It's so simple. We should, I don't know. Okay, that's not a good song, but it's not a good one. We can do better. We'll do better. I promise.
And to come with maybe that's a t-shirt. It's so simple, right?
So simple.
In the back, the source connection.
Yes. Yeah. Let us know if you guys would wear that, would rock that shirt.
shout out to our friend Tom Barnett, who with his friend just did a clothing line. I saw some. Did you see that?
No.
And t-shirts, and the one I saw said, "My consent is absolutely essential."
I love it.
Yeah, I love that.
That's great.
Yeah. Let's wait for the women's. I haven't seen, but when I last saw it, there was no ladies. But
all right, Tom, you better get those ladies shirts up.
It's so simple, and I think because we've keep talking. Maybe that's the thing today for me. Keep talking about the conditioning because we've tend to complicate things, and we've been told that things are complicated, and you don't have the moral ability to understand. Are you a scientist?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Or are you a doctor?
Are you an expert?
Yes. What's your degree? What's your whatever your certifications? How long did you study in school?
And another one of our beloved guests come to mind, Tommy. And
Oh, yeah, Tommy John.
Where did you learn that? Life?
Yeah.
What better degree do you want than your life? To be the expert of your life and to know by trial and error what works for you, what doesn't work for you. And I think that because of this huge polarization that we notice happening in the world, again, where can we soften to allow for others to be different and to have different ideas about how they organize their own lives? I was thinking about healthcare the other day, and I was like, it's interesting to think that some people just can't conceptualize that other people don't feel the same way about how they decide for their healthcare. What kind of experience of life is this, that you feel like you know better for others what they should be doing or shouldn't be doing? But how do we get here?
Yeah. Yeah, where you're dictating to others what you think is right or wrong.
Or even the lack of ability to allow for somebody to have a different experience than you. About how they've been raised, what they've experienced that leads them to take certain actions or not take certain actions. And for all of a sudden, there's this one moral authority over everyone about how everyone should be doing their lives.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and we've said this before. The root of that to me is this disconnection with your source, with your true self. Because if you were connected to that, you wouldn't even conceive of trying to dictate someone else's life in any way, regardless of what you thought about it. Even if you thought it was bad or wrong or whatever, you're not going to try to tell someone because you're like, oh man, that's totally them. That's their stuff. And you're at least happy for them that maybe they're following that or whatever, to learn whatever they need to learn or go on their journey. But it's that disconnection, and that has been how this world has been set up.
Yes.
For a long time, for hundreds of years or more. So it's and there are certain beings that are here that came here to like already be like awake to all of that and be immune to all of that, right? Like us.
Right.
So, but the ones who maybe have been here for a long time or they kept reincarnating with all their stuff, it's just a 3D world. So they don't have access, they don't allow themselves to have access, all the things.
Yeah.
Right? So many levels to that.
My public service announcement of the day is, it's not your business.
Yes.
How people do their lives, it's not your business.
Yeah.
Like the sooner that people can understand that, I believe that the less heartache people are going to feel, in the sense of like, oh, they're just doing themselves. Cool. Sure.
Yeah. You don't have to participate in it.
No. And then let's start finding, where do we come together? What are the things that unite us? Where do we see the possibilities of creation instead of seeing the little details of how things are different and then just pulling ourselves apart from each other?
Yeah.
And I learned a long time ago, I'd rather be happy than be right. And so it's one of those, like, if somebody is really arguing for their point, yeah, sure. Do you, you know?
Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Yeah. And yes, like you said, the minute that you're deeply connected to yourself, you have no need to control others. You have no desire. It doesn't even really, it's not even a part of your experience, because you trust yourself enough to trust others enough that they have to go what they have to go through to figure themselves out.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. That doesn't mean we can't express our opinion or feeling about something,
No, of course.
to a loved one or what have you. I know
Of
we both have
course.
experience with that in this past year intensely. But then once your piece is said,
That's it.
That's it.
Finding the common ground to respect.
Yeah.
You don't have to understand somebody to respect them. That's the thing.
Or accept it.
Yes. I think that we've distorted that with the, like culture that we are being fed.
Yeah.
Of like, well, unless you do by my rules, then you have no place being. Well, excuse me? When do we become this like pasteurized culture?
Yeah.
It's like we all have to go through this one thing to like clear out everything and all this like just this white milk.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's the whole point and agenda, right? Is to get everyone suckled into the teat of that other source and not think for themselves or have any, have all the illusion of like choice and all these things.
Right.
That's one way to go.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's totally one way to go. And
totally one way to go.
And again, it's not my business.
Yeah.
I'll do me. It's none of your business.
Yeah. Amen, sister. Amen.
Amen. Unless you invite somebody in your life and they have that kind of position in your kingdom to where they have a saying in how they feel, coming like we have with each other, but that's a loving place. That's not a place of control or anything like that. It's just best interest in mind. Then so be it. But everybody else, if you haven't been invited to someone's kingdom, don't try to sit at their dinner table. That's just not gonna work.
It's not gonna work. It's not gonna go well for anybody. Right?
No, you either get the invitation to the kingdom, if you don't,
or you don't. And if you don't come knocking on that, or don't cross that moat. Don't you cross that moat. And it goes always. It goes always.
Doesn't matter what it is. Here's the thing. Doesn't matter what topic it is. Doesn't matter what, because people all of a sudden think it's because this, it's because that I have a say. No, you don't.
Nope.
You don't.
Yeah. Nope.
It's very simple.
It's very simple. Very simple. So just stay out of each other's business.
Keep it simple. Yeah.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Unless you're asked for your opinion.
Yes, unless you're asked
keep
or
it
invited.
To yourself.
Yeah.
Don't be telling
you
other
feel
people
a real
call,
and it's coming from a place of love, and you just want to get it out, and that might be something that you have to experience.
Yes, and learning how to communicate as well. I feel like so many things can be said. How are you saying it? How are you choosing to deliver your message? How are you choosing to let somebody know how you feel?
Yeah.
Oftentimes, the way we communicate, it's so broken. It's so distorted. We don't even know feelings for what they are. Well, I feel like, or I feel that. Wait a minute, what are you feeling? Mm-hmm. Can you get clearer with yourself?
Really
One thing that has helped me a lot, and it's a book that I'm reading for the second time, it's Nonviolent Communication. Mm. And learning how to communicate and how to express, to invoke the heart in another instead of their defenses or their mechanisms of injury or stress or why not. And when you start noticing the delicacy of that and the art of that, you start hearing people talk, you start hearing yourself talk, and you really notice how our communication has been so trampled and distorted.
Yeah, when people just go for it instead of, one thing I have done in the past and like to do is, if I want to either be curious about something they're doing, or I have an opinion, or something I feel like, I really feel called to say this to this person. Often I'll say, hey, I'm feeling something that I would like to say. about XYZ. Are you open to hearing?
Yeah.
That alone, because
Absolutely.
then they can say yes or no. You can say, I'm not. And then you go, okay, you keep it to yourself. If you really feel called or you really want to bring something up, or because that automatically, it's like you're giving them the power, you're empowering them to have their own experience, to have whatever experience they want, and they can open to that or they cannot, and that's totally fine either way. And it might be really, really hard in that moment. Someone says no. And then you get to go, oh, okay.
Okay.
Where was I coming from when I wanted to say that thing to you?
Then it's self-reflection.
Yeah.
Yes, I've learned that a while ago too. Are you open for a reflection?
Yeah. Yes.
Are you wanting me to comment on what you just said, or do you just need me to hear?
Yes. That is
it's
so
little
powerful.
things like that. And sometimes it's coming from a loving place, because we see someone in distress or going through something, and we feel like we can fix it or we can help.
Oh, we can say something. Yeah.
I learned something not too long ago, and that was so powerful to me, just that alone. And I don't even remember. I guess if I stop for a moment, I will be able to remember where. They were talking about when someone's crying, to not even offer tissue, because that can hinder that expression in that moment.
Right.
And how many times have we offered tissue, not because we wanted somebody to stop crying, it's just because we thought it would be more comfortable if they could blow their nose, or if they could wipe their face. Yeah. And so really just becoming more of the witness, not only in our experience, but the experience for others, allowing for them to experience what they need to experience, and just being there, just being the skilled listener.
And allowing for their discomfort, even if it's uncomfortable for you, and being with your discomfort while they're feeling discomfort. Because, yeah, like you said, we could hinder, oh, it's okay. Are you okay? Don't cry. Like that, don't do what you're doing is like, that is so weird to me when I see people do that with their kids.
Oh, I'm so glad that I was aware of that before I had a child, because that to me is so fundamental.
I mean, huge.
It's huge from a young age, how much we're taught to not do what we're doing, to not feel what we're feeling, because it's uncomfortable for others. And we have all these adults now that grow up, and the minute they start emoting, I'm sorry. What are you sorry for? I tell people all the time, be sorry for crying. I mean, it's very easy for me to cry, and I don't care who's watching or where I am. So it's easy for me to say that. I'm just very fluid with that. And I see the discomfort that people feel. And I'm glad that I don't feel that I can just reassure them, it's fine. You're fine. Do what you have to do. And for us to again, last year, how much discomfort did we feel, and we continue to feel, when we feel like we're moving in a different direction than most people where we're at most of the time. And yet you start to conquer yourself through that. And you start to integrate yourself through what you really know is true for you and fundamentally right for you. And you start leveling up with your own self, with the ability to be in that discomfort, with the ability to be with others' discomfort. It's little things that we forget. Like when people talk to you in a certain way, why do you feel like you have to respond to them? You don't owe anybody any explanation of anything.
Yeah.
You
don't have to say anything.
If you're not harming anybody, if you're not, and oftentimes we feel like the minute where somebody invites us into their field, we have to react or we have to respond. Do you really?
No. You do not. And that is the more comfortable you are with yourself, as yourself, following your alignment or truth, again, when we're not harming other people.
Yeah.
Then we can be in that place and not feel the need to respond, or respond whatever comes out, but not feel the need to justify one's action, or I'm doing this because, or
I'm gonna wrap us up with my daily decree. for myself and others. I know who I am in truth. I know what I am in truth. I know how I serve in truth. I am free. I am free. I am free. I know who you are in truth. I know what you are in truth. And I know how you serve in truth. You are free. You are free. You are free.
Mm. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul and the guides, for that.
Yes.
That's my daily invitation and inspiration and setting of the tone. And so remembering that when you are devoted to yourself, your melody will also instigate and inspire others to be devoted to themselves. And can we imagine a world where people were devoted to their most essence and you always felt taken care of? All of your needs were met. I mean, just that alone. Wow.
Just that alone.
Wow.
A world that is being created, that is already here. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. Yes. Till next time.